Harris, based on this conversation, based on your own experiences, what are like some best practices, right, for forming these types of relationships that we have, these positive experiences between communities and law enforcement officials?
My first thing would be to, if you don't know, each precinct has a community coordinator in Nashville. That person is the liaison between that precinct and the community, the precinct area in which they serve. So my first advice would be, if you don't know who the community coordinator is in your precinct for your organization, call and set up a meeting and get to know that person. That's the person, they work every day, and one of their main jobs is just to be that point of contact for that precinct. Obviously, the precinct commander would be, also a point of contact, but they're running the entire precinct. Where the community coordinator, his main responsibility is to be a liaison to the community. So I would schedule a meeting, and I would make those meetings regular. If it had to start at first, maybe every 6 months, every quarter, become a familiar face to that person. So they know you, you know them. If you call, if you have a concern or a question, you know who you're talking to. And, you just build that confidence that they're going to be attentive to your needs, and they're there to help relay information to the zone officer. Maybe they need to know something about what's going on at your organization. But get to know that community coordinator and let them know a little bit about you, your organization, and what you need from their precinct. What you think would benefit you from the police department.
Well, the first thing I'd say is, so we do an exercise with communities and law enforcement that we actually go out and we do something called the CREX. And this is a community and law enforcement resiliency exercise. So we actually bring community members and law enforcement agents into the same room, and we provide them with a scenario. The scenario could be a scenario of a hate crime, it could be a regular crime, it could be a potential terrorist attack, and we ask them to take on the role of the opposite. So we ask communities to take on the role of law enforcement, and we ask law enforcement to take on the role of communities. It's a very interesting exercise, because most of the time the communities will overreact and they just arrest the person and put them behind bars. And so that it's really interesting. But then what we do is we ask law enforcement to think about the impact that crime has on the communities and bystanders and hate crimes. And it's fascinating because for the first time they kind of understand what the other is going through. So that understanding is so important. And I just got back from Sacramento. I was in Sacramento where the Sacramento Police Department addressing the issue of driving while black. So they realized that they needed to figure out a way for their officers to understand what that fear means, but also for people to understand how officers react when they're in a traffic stop. Like the vulnerabilities that an officer is in. When an officer stops someone, they are vulnerable. And so they did this video where they actually have it's a 2-minute video. They have a traffic stop, and then they take those 2 individuals and they remove them from the traffic stop in this video, and they sit in a coffee shop. And they start to dialogue. And the person being stopped says, "You know the fears that I have. I'm wearing a hoodie. I'm a black man. And these are the fears that I have." And then the officers will say, "Well, you know the vulnerabilities that I have. This is what I'm thinking. These are the challenges that I go through." And at the end, they come up, they understand each other, and they go back and they talk about how you do a stop. That understanding is so important. And I don't think that enough of that happens because enough engagement does not take place, and sustained engagement. Most of the engagement, unfortunately, takes place when a crisis happens. And I think it's so important to have a sustained level of engagement all the time, so that when there's no crisis, you still come to the synagogue, still come to the mosque, still come to the church, bring the chief, even if there's no big, huge issue, go to the precinct, constantly have that level of engagement, because if you don't, at the moment of crisis, everybody retreats to their position. That's natural. And I think if you're able to get beyond that, I think that's one extremely helpful.